Okay, hi Connor. I know these video lessons can be a little weird. It's not so easy to see all the drums and we can't communicate back and forth. So I'd say just do the best you can to try to practice the things we talk about, and some of the things are things that we've already been talking about, but the video might give you a better sense of how those things are supposed to sound. Well, what I want to start off doing for this lesson is I want to go through and have you actually do the best you can at going through the first 4 lines of the Right Foot Rock Independence page that we'd been working on for the past several weeks. As you remember, it's this page that says Right Foot Rock Independence. And if I remember correctly, we were more or less kind of working on the first 4 lines. I might briefly talk about the last 2 lines for this lesson, but like I said, if it feels a little too confusing and you have questions and we have to take it a little slower, we'll talk about these things next week when I see you, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I thought I would play through the first 4 lines of Right Foot Rock Independence so you have a clear reference of what they more or less should be sounding like. So what I'm going to do is I'll say the line I'm doing. I'm going to play that line 2 times in a row, meaning that I will do the repeat. And then I'll stop and then mention that I will be starting the next line so you can get a good sense of what they sound like, okay? So, something you already kind of know how it's going, but you might need more practice at getting a little better at it. Line 1 of Right Foot Rock Independence, okay? So here I go. So the actual name of the sheet is Right Foot Rock Independence 1. And I know you have it in your sheets, but I also included it as a link that you can print and download on this video lesson, okay? So it's also there if for some reason you can't find it. Okay, here's the first line with a repeat. Line 1. All right, here is line 2, 2 times through. All right, here is line 3. Repeat. All right, and here is line 4. All right, now, I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I do not believe that we spent any time yet talking about lines 5 and 6. Back up a little bit. So, the one thing that I would like you to do is take a look at line 5. Measures 1 and 3 of line 5 are things you could already play. But when you look at measure 2 of line 5, and it's kind of tricky for me to show you, where is it? You can see it's right there. there. Okay? Now, if you see where my finger is on the second measure of line 5 of right foot rock independence, you'll notice that that little symbol has the double line before the single line. Okay? Now you know that all the other parts of right foot rock independence, 1 through 4, had that symbol with the single line before the double line, which was 1 and da. When we do those basses and hi-hats this way. You know, like right at the beginning of, let's say, line 3. Now, when you look at that new looking symbol in the middle of the second measure of line 5, you can see the double line first. So what happens there is, when we count our 16th notes at that moment, it would be the rested. You know that when it's the other symbol, we go 1 and it's the E rested. 1 and You heard me kind of whisper E just then. When we look at the symbol in the middle of measure 2, line 5, the rested, so in this case we'd say 3E and, with the rested. Now you can see it's a hi-hat and a bass and a hi-hat. So what that's going to sound like is this. You notice I went hi-hat, bass, hi-hat. And you should practice that a little bit. You should just try a few of those, like this. And again. And one more time. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do when doing line 5 is to see if you can do the second measure. This is what it's going to sound like. The way I would count that measure is I would say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm going to play that measure one more time. You could hear I just fit that bass drum right in between the hi-hat pattern on the E of 3. 3 and. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play line 5 for you with the repeat so you can hear what it sounds like. Repeat. All right. So I wouldn't worry about line 6 this week. I'd like to talk about that with you in person. But there is also a second sheet that I included that I added to this video lesson in the links and files, if you notice. There's only 2 lines on it. And what it is it'll say 16th note rhythms. I think that's what it says. 16th note rhythms on the top. And there'll be some writing that's worth reading. But if you look at line 1, it's written a little different. There'll be one measure, and then there'll be these 3 kind of percentage sign boxes after, which is just a special type of repeat that means repeat that one measure that you saw before. Okay, so what this is it's kind of the exact equivalent of what we were doing with the bass drum on Right Foot Rock Independence of lines 1 through 4, where we went like this. But if you look at the end of that measure of line 1, you'll see that it snares. It's a dotted 8th note snare. Even though it's written a little differently, it'll mean the same as what it meant with the bass drum when we went 1 and da. Now imagine doing that exact same thing, only don't use the bass drum. Use your hands. Watch. You notice how that was just like this? The thing you're already pretty good at with Right Foot Rock Independence, only I did it with my hands. Again. It'll be like together, hi-hat snare. Now in the case of line 1 of this other sheet, it is 4 and da. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly play line 1 just one time through, and I will play line 2 so you can hear what they both sound like. If you have a hard time picking this up this week, don't worry. We're going to work on it again when I see you next week, okay? All right, here's line 1 of the new page entitled 16th Note Rhythms. All right. And you notice I just did that one measure and repeated it over and over. 4 measures in a row. Okay, now I'm going to play line 2. You can see it starts with 2 bass drums. That would be the one that looks like this. You see that? Boom, boom, ga, ch, ga, boom, boom, ga, ch, ga. So this is what line 2 sounds like. Alright, so just do the best you can with this video lesson, Connor. I know, like I said, it's a little weird, do a video lesson, but we're just doing the best we can on each end. And just practice up the stuff we talked about, and have fun playing drums, okay? And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.